And now on BBC Radio 4, we have the first in a brand new series featuring Roger Allam, Jeffrey Whitehead and starring Will Smith, who's going through a rough patch and turns to his godfather, Peter, for help and advice on speaking his mind.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Will Smith's Midlife Crisis Management. I recently turned 35, halfway through my 70 years and 10, and it forced me to take a long, hard look at where my life has been and where it's going. I sunk into a bleak depression. Mozart died at 37, leaving a body of work unrivaled in Western music. Christ had died and risen at the age of 33. By the time they were my age, Chris Tarrant had already given us Tiswas, and Vin Diesel had given us Triple X and The Chronicles of Riddick. When I was 18, I made a list of things I wanted to achieve by the time I was 40. I recently came across it and was staggered by how little of it I had ticked off. Attain the nickname Studs. Become lead singer of Queen. Freddie Mercury had just died. Grow a moustache. I think that was linked to the previous point. Learn a martial art in secret. Get a wink off Chris de Burgh from the front row of a concert. Get into the Guinness Book of Records by one of the following methods. Eat 20 Cadbury's cream eggs in a row. Unicycle from pole to pole. Become world's tallest man. And on top of this, I realised there was still no immediate prospect of marriage. In my younger years, I thought I could pull off the bachelor lifestyle. I'd be like George Clooney, a bevy of beauties linked to my name. Then I adjusted my hopes to being like Simon Cowell. A few rumours, but basically I'd be safe. Now I realise that without a wife, I'm verging perilously close to Cliff Richard. My course must be replotted. Now, birthdays weren't really celebrated when I was growing up. I never got any presents because my birthday is in August and my parents said it was too close to Christmas. But this year I moved into a new flat and the previous occupants had left some birthday candles in the cutlery drawer. So I thought, what the hell, I'll have a party. And I invited someone I remembered as always having been there for me when I was growing up. He's going to be a regular on the series. Please welcome my godfather, Peter Black.
Good evening.
Now, Peter, why don't you tell everyone what you told me that night?
The best way to take Viagra is to snort it.
I mean the thing about me.
Well, the last time I'd seen you was what, your 9th birthday?
10th. My parents banned all contact after that because you gave me a video of Smokey and the Bandit. They said it encouraged driving violations and a disrespect for the law.
So I hadn't seen you since you were a nipper, and the thing that struck me was how this sickly boy that I had known had grown up into this walking corpse.
I was quite stressed that night. I mean, numbers for the party were low. Even my parents pulled out.
Hello, William, it's your father. Sorry, we can't make it tonight. We've got to clear out the understairs cupboard. The electrician's coming round early tomorrow, about 11, and he'll need to get into it. Hope you get the card. You've already had your present. It was your school fees.
Well, it's clear your parents have given up on you, and now it's my turn to take the reins. Believe it or not, I was once like you. Staid, repressed, uptight. My marriage was in the doldrums and my Harley Street surgery was grinding me down. The highlight of my day was firing an air rifle at the pigeons on my roof. So I walked out of the job and the marriage and into a pair of boot-cut jeans.
So you had a midlife crisis of your own?
Kind of. A midlife crisis just means you've realised that the clock is ticking and you're not happy, so you need to change up. I mean, look at all the things I've done in the last couple of years. I drive a Porsche, I've learnt to snowboard, been to Ibiza, I've made a corn circle, coached a women's rugby team, and I've seen the Kaiser Chiefs 4 times. Pick some things on your list of ambitions and go for them.
Well, the only one that still means something to me, I didn't actually mention. I wanted to play James Bond.
What, like in a computer game?
No, in a film.
A Bond film?
Yeah, by the time I'm 40.
I think we should concentrate on more attainable goals. For starters, I noticed you can't say what you think to people's faces.
Absolutely. It's the bane of my life. Although there is a social convention to be observed here. You can't just say what you think all the time. You have to spare people's feelings.
Of course. And there was plenty of that at your party. People were coming up to you and saying stuff they clearly didn't mean. Hello, Will. Good to see you. You look well. Great party.
I thought it was a good party.
I've been to autopsies with more of an atmosphere than your party.
Well, there were games and music and lots of drink.
There was a chessboard, the greatest hits of Big Country, and a couple of bottles of apple ties.
You see, you're able to tell me the truth. Why can't I do that to other people?
Because you're scared of upsetting people.
Yes, I am. I'm scared of confrontation, which is ridiculous at my age. I mean, something that's bugging me at the moment is my neighbours. They keep sitting in their garden drinking with friends. Now, that's bad enough, but whenever it's good weather, I have to open the window because I get so hot. It's either that or sleep in the nude, and I feel uncomfortable doing that in front of the cat. So I have the window open, and then I can't sleep because of their inane conversation.
You should ring my friend Rachel. She'd be a really good match. Don't you think, Sal? Rachel and Tim?
Yes, totally. She's such a laugh.
Why can't you set him up with a mute? Or at least someone with a chronic whispering disease?
I met this guy and he joined the army and went to Iraq just so he could smoke.
Really?
Yeah.
It is a human right to be allowed to smoke.
What about my right to silence?
You and me belong together. How does it go after that?
The final straw was when they were trying to put the Police Academy films in chronological order.
No. Look, it's assignment Miami Beach, then it's mission to Moscow.
I've had enough of this.
It's Police Academy, Police Academy 2, their first assignment, 3, back in training, 4, citizens on patrol, 5, assignment Miami Beach, 6, city under siege, 7, mission to Moscow. And Craig Logan was the name of the bassist in Bros.
Cheers, Will. Are we keeping you up?
No, I've just gone in.
You see, I'm given the opportunity to tell them the truth, and I just can't do it. I'm fed up of being like this. It causes me untold stress.
Well, I've asked someone to come on the show who can hopefully get you speaking your mind more. Please welcome an old friend of mine, former Tory MP, George Potter. George, this is Will.
Ah, yes. The coward.
It was a bit strong.
Living a lie.
I don't know about that.
I bet if I grabbed your balls, they'd come off in my hand.
I don't know what would be more awkward, if they did come off and I'd have to ask for them back. Or if they didn't come off and you were just left holding them.
Now, George, you don't care what people think about you. You often voted against your party and spoke out against the leadership. You've always been prepared to become a pariah for your beliefs.
I think dissent is an important part of any democracy.
I agree with that. One must always question.
No, then you're just questioning for the sake of it. You're blinkered and unthinking. You are a cretin.
Do you mean you as a general term or me specifically?
Both.
How can I be both constantly questioning and unpredictable?
You have to be prepared to say the things that come into your head that no one else will say, like when I walk into a dinner party. I will go round the table and say, fat, bald, closeted, here for the ethnic mix. Then I deny everything and work backwards to befriend them.
Is that what you were doing when you called me a cretin, just setting yourself a social challenge?
No, I genuinely think you are a cretin.
You see, George is unafraid to say exactly what he thinks and do what he wants. He's the opposite of you. I've got a little quiz to prove it. Question 1. You're in a restaurant and the food arrives late and cold. What do?
Well, I don't want to make a scene, so I eat it. I'm not that bothered by cold food. I've got very sensitive lips.
I douse the food in lighter fluid and set fire to it.
Question 2. You run into someone at a party you've met before, but they have forgotten your name. How do you react?
I don't know, because that never happens.
No one ever forgets your name?
No, I don't go to parties.
I would tell them my name was something ridiculous, like Babylon Mandela or Dungaree Jones. See if they forget that.
Question 3. Someone pushes in front of you in a queue. What do you do?
I put a sticker on their back that says dog molester.
Doesn't that take time to write?
I've had them specially made up.
Will, your approach to queue jumpers.
Well, it depends what I'm queuing for. Say I'm in a supermarket, I'm not that bothered. It gives me more time to leaf through magazines I pretend are beneath me. If it's a queue for a limited edition Gandalf figurine, then someone's going to get hurt.
You see, you can be a bit like George and not be intimidated by what people will think of you.
I've always spoken and acted from the heart, regardless of the consequences. I was a Tory MP, then I stood unsuccessfully as an independent candidate.
How does that work?
Well, you just stand on local issues. I was against the building of a giant Tesco's.
It's a popular movement, being against big supermarkets.
Yes, I thought it was a vote winner. Plus, I have a large amount of shares in Sainsbury's.
So can anyone stand as an independent candidate?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. You make up your own policies. I might do that.
What would you stand for?
Well, off the top of my head, it would be a twin platform of protection for the red squirrel and the banishment of Louis Walsh.
Waste of time.
And what would your policies be?
Independence from London. Relocation of the capital to Salisbury. A statue of Inspector Morse to be erected in Trafalgar Square. Renewal of Trident, and a unilateral withdrawal from Eurovision.
That's pretty eclectic.
I think you'll find I say what a lot of people think, but are too scared to say out loud. But they should. They are the silent majority. If we stick up for what's right, we can sort this country out.
I used to believe that, but it doesn't work in practice. I spoke out once and it backfired badly.
What happened?
I went to see Reign of Fire, a little-remembered thriller set in a future dystopia where dragons have taken over the world.
Sounds imbecilic.
The reason my knowledge is a little hazy is because I was distracted throughout the film by a group of teenagers talking on the back row.
That dragon looks like your mum.
You see that fire that comes out of their mouths? That's what comes out of your mum's butt.
Hey, you love Gokwan.
Your favourite band is like Maroon 5.
Right, you and you, shut up or get out.
What? Are you going to make us?
No, I'm appealing to your sense of decency and justice.
You're appealing to our sense of gayness.
I got you there, mate.
He did not get me. What he said didn't make any sense.
This film doesn't make any sense.
I don't care. I have waited 20 years for this, and so have the rest of this cinema of 30-something males. We sat through Dragonheart, which was piffle. Most of us didn't even bother with Dungeons & Dragons after seeing the crappy trailer. But Reign of Fire has had moderate press and some decent reviews of the CGI, and you are not going to ruin it with your childish antics. So grow up and let me watch a film about dragons!
And how did that go down?
Well, mixed reception, a couple of weak cheers from the aforementioned 30-somethings, but mostly I got called a paedophile and was pelted with half-chewed sweets.
Next time, you do what I do. Take a big, powerful torch, and if anyone starts talking, turn it on and point it at them and scream, "I will kill you, I will, I will." There aren't many disputes that can't be settled by an angry voice emanating from behind a blinding light.
Well, the kids definitely won. And ever since then, I've gone back to my old ways of suffering in silence and saying what I think other people want to hear.
I've got his tickets for Nickelback.
Wonderful. They're rad.
Happy Christmas, Will. Bone Kickers on DVD.
Ooh, a quick response team of maverick archaeologists. Sounds great.
My mate's not feeling too good. Sorry about your shoes.
Oh, that's okay. I was thinking of getting a new pair anyway. You've done me a favour. I should be thanking you.
You've got to stop biting your tongue so much, Will. The other week, I was at a dinner party. Posh set in Chelsea. Friends of the ex-wife. Never really liked them. Anyway, we've all slightly overdone the Shiraz, and the conversation turned to hate figures. This woman piped up about Jerry Adams, about how no one should forget what he did or what he stood for, and at first I thought, well, each to their own. But then, when she said he shouldn't be allowed in the country, I snapped. I said, listen, darling, you don't know the first thing about that man's struggle. He came over here when he was no one and worked the back rooms of pubs. Now look at him. I saw him live once, and no one works a crowd like Adams. Palm of the hand stuff. I can't stand it when people slag him off. It's not his fault he was at #1 for months. Besides which, it was a great song.
Song?
Yes. Everything I Do.
That's Bryan Adams.
No, Will. Bryan Adams is the Irish Republican. I was defending Gerry Adams, the Canadian Springsteen, who sang "The only thing that looks good on me is you."
Does the guy you're thinking of have a beard?
Now you're thinking of Grizzly Adams.
Come on, Peter, get a grip. We're not here to listen to you name drop. We're here to talk about this idiot's problems with speaking his mind. Now, Will, you've got to go with your gut and react immediately and truthfully. Let's do some word association. Peter, say a word. And Will and I have to say the first thing that comes into our heads. So don't fumble about, man. Be honest. It's very liberating.
Okay.
Family.
Unit.
Shackles.
Men.
Thighs.
Insects.
Gift.
Dictionary.
Turd.
Women.
Mother.
Whores.
Children.
Fear.
Bastards.
Money.
For nothing.
Whores.
Love.
Aragorn.
Norman Tebbit.
The end.
Death.
Whores.
No, that's the end of the game. Now, what has that shown you, Will?
That George maybe has issues with women.
Nonsense. I've been married for 40 years.
Happily?
Well, the thing with marriage is you start with the physical closeness and attraction, and when that falls away, as it inevitably does with time, you're left with a friendship. And then when that falls away, you're left with a sound physical arrangement and an efficient household. And then, of course, when that falls away, you're left with a barely concealed resentment and uncontrollable irritation at everything they say and do. And you've got to cling on to that. Otherwise, you'll lose the house.
I've got to say, George, you don't know what you've got there. Gin is still a fine piece of crackling.
I can't wait to get married. You make it sound like a Cold War thriller. A war of nerves with my counterpart in Moscow.
You're not ready for marriage. You can't face down your neighbours, let alone a wife.
I don't see what I could have done about them.
But you have to do something about it.
I'm well aware of that. The other day I was so tired from another night of their inane prattle I could barely keep awake. I knew I just needed a catnap and I'd be fine, but it was impossible to find somewhere. I was moved on from a church. I was thrown out of an afternoon screening of Guy Ritchie's latest film Rock and Roller for snoring too loudly. I don't know why they singled me out. I pretended to go bed shopping in John Lewis, but you can only manage roughly 3 minutes per mattress before the staff realise what you're doing and you have to move on to the next one.
My neighbours had an opera festival and it was rather loud, so...
Well, don't tell me you went round and shot them.
No, we just moved to another wing of the house. But I did shoot their dog.
Well, I don't have a gun and my neighbours don't have a dog, so I did the next best thing. I called the Noisy Neighbours Helpline.
In these situations, we normally recommend that the two sides engage in dialogue to resolve their differences.
No way, I'm not going to end up a headline, man killed over noise complaint.
What are your neighbours like?
He's a journalist, she's a dental nurse, I think.
They sound approachable.
That is very offensive to suggest that middle-class people are not capable of violence.
Are you saying they have violent tendencies?
I'm just saying it won't look good if I'm killed because you can't be bothered to do your job.
OK, we'll go round and talk to them.
How many people in your life can you go to the lavatory in front of?
I'm hoping I misheard that.
You're too bound up by social convention. Now, in your own home, how many people can you leave the door open to without embarrassment?
None.
Because you're scared of what they would think of you?
I know what they would think. They would think, why has he left the door open? Maybe he's lost his mind.
There are 27 people in my life that I'm happy to oblute in front of.
27?
It's a constantly evolving list. Some people make way for others, but it's normally about 27. At the moment, it includes my brother, brother-in-law, wife, gardener, housekeeper, stockbroker, and vicar. It establishes me as the dominant male.
I shut and lock the door even when I'm alone in my flat.
You see, totally repressed, can't stand up for yourself. I follow my desires and live life as I please.
But I don't want to go to the toilet in front of people. I find it hard enough in a public toilet. Sometimes I try and break the tension by talking, but what do you say? I usually open with some small talk about splashback. How they should have paper towels with holes cut in them so that you can use to guard against it. Well, there's only so many times you can use the strong taps excuse, and you need to save that for when there are actually strong taps.
Well, thanks for that window onto your mind. A window I now intend to brick up. How about, to get you used to complaining and confronting people, you tell me something you don't like about me?
Oh, no, there's nothing really.
Come on. Everyone's got something that annoys even the person that loves them most.
I don't want to be rude.
I can take it. It's all about respect and honesty.
OK, then. When I was about 7, you read me Watership Down at bedtime.
I remember that. It was Christmas when I came to stay after you'd moved away.
Yes, and you did the voice of Hazel as a girl.
It's a girl's name.
But it's a male rabbit. Hazel and Fiver are both male rabbits. You did the whole thing like they were lovers.
Are they not?
There's love between them, but they're not lovers.
So they're not gay rabbits?
No, they're just rabbits who are friends. I found your misreading of the text quite enraging.
Sam, the most annoying thing I've ever done to you is get the gender of a character wrong in a story about talking rabbits.
Yes.
And does it feel better letting that out at last?
It does, actually. I've carried that for nearly 30 years.
Do you think you could talk like that to your neighbours?
I'm not sure. Things were pretty awkward the last time I saw them.
Hi, Will.
Hi.
Did we really disturb you the other night?
No, I was out like a light. Didn't hear a thing.
Because we got a visit from the neighbourhood complaint unit. Someone rang them about us making a noise in the garden. They wouldn't say who.
Really? Well, it must have been the family the other side.
They're on holiday at the moment.
What about the guy who lives opposite?
He's deaf.
Is he? Actually, that's a relief. I thought he was ignoring me when I said hello.
Must have been someone else then.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't them, it must have been.
Have a nice day then.
So now it's really bad. They know I've complained. They also know I've lied about complaining. What do we do? Peter, what would you do?
Initially, I would have gone round with a bottle of Cinzano and joined the party. But if I was in your position now, with them knowing I'd complained, and on top of that knowing that I'd lied about complaining, I'd have no choice. I'd have to move.
That's a bit extreme.
I would feel I'd made such a colossal fool of myself that I couldn't look them squarely in the eye.
I don't think that's the answer.
I couldn't live with the constant reminder of my spineless idiocy.
All right. I think we all understand your position. George?
Well, in any long-standing dispute with a neighbour, my ultimate recourse is simple. I bribe the farmer who works my fields to dump silage near their house. The smell usually brings them to their senses.
Peter, do you think I should be using harassment to solve the problem with my neighbours?
No, probably not.
Good. As ever, I chose my own path. Morning, Doctor.
Morning, Mr. Smith. What is it this time? Is it the sensitive nipples, or the fear you're a victim of mind control?
I need you to write me a note saying I'm an amnesiac insomniac.
What do you mean?
I'm someone who can't sleep and forgets what they've done. It's the only way to explain my behaviour to my neighbours.
Are you suffering from lack of sleep?
Yes, because they have loud conversations in their garden.
Why don't you ask them to keep the noise down?
It's too late for that. I complained to the noisy neighbour helpline and they know it was me, but I denied it. But if you say I've got amnesia, it'll explain my denial.
Have you got amnesia?
Can't we just say I have?
I can't just fake a medical condition to save you embarrassment with your neighbours.
Oh, please, it's not like I'm asking you for heroin or to put the wrong name on a death certificate.
But you haven't got amnesia.
Who are you? Where am I?
Get out.
Who is this Will of which you speak?
You are pathetic.
My name is pathetic?
Out!
Okay. Thanks for nothing.
I'm so glad I got out of the medical profession. People like you are the reason I retired.
So your neighbours think you're an idiot. Who doesn't?
I'm sure they'll get over it, Will.
I don't think so. They started throwing things over the garden wall. Beer cans, wine bottles, lamps, stools, both varieties. And a dead rat with the words, "You're a rat," taped to it, in case I missed the symbolism.
You see how much easier it would have been if at the beginning of all this, you'd just said how you felt.
I'll get my own back, though. My neighbour brings different girls back all the time. He's sleeping around. I'll get him sectioned as a sexually transmitted disease nexus.
It's not against the law, Will.
There's some kind of partner swapping going on, though.
That's not illegal either. I mean, I slept with George's wife.
What? When?
Last week.
You slept with my wife?
Come on, George. You knew all about it. You gave me the nod.
I said you could borrow my car.
But you know I've got a Porsche. Why would I want to borrow your old rust bucket?
This is outrageous.
George, you gave me the go-ahead. If it's any consolation, I didn't enjoy it. If you leave them in the garage too long, the battery goes dead.
This is good, though, isn't it, George? Peter followed his desires, lived life as he pleased.
You said yourself there wasn't much love left between you.
That's not the point.
Look, I can only apologise.
You slept with my wife.
I'm sorry, old bean. Feel free to have a go on mine if it'll make you feel better.
You're not married anymore.
I meant my car.
I'm finding this really inspiring. You can do and say as you like and stuff everyone else. And what are they going to do? I'm not going to be cowed anymore.
That's the spirit, Will. Let it out.
I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. Nail my colours to the mast. Doctor Who is rubbish. It was rubbish in the 70s. It's rubbish now. Lily Allen needs a slap. People who wear hats indoors are invariably dicks. Terry Wogan's ears are massive. They're like hands. If you're fat, it's because you eat too much. Everything about Simon Cowell is wrong. And if I was a woman, I'd sleep with Paxman.
So, what have we learnt this week?
Well, I've learnt that if something's bothering you, it's better to speak your mind. And you should have learnt always to clarify the difference between someone's car and their wife. Make sure you're very, very clear about that.
Will Smith's Midlife Crisis Management was written by Will Smith and Roger Drew. It was performed by Will Smith, Roger Allam, Jeffrey Whitehead, Jill Cardo, Gunnar Cawthorey, Roger Drew, Donla Hughes, Robert Lonsdale, Dan Starkey and Malcolm Tierney. The producer was Tilusha Galani.
Oh, this is ridiculous. What am I worried about?
Hello?
Hello, it's Will from next door.
And?
The music's a bit loud. I wondered whether you'd mind awfully turning it down?
Sure.
Crank up the volume next week when Peter tries to help Will dress better with the help of Kathy, a fashion presenter.